let's go over the definition of whole numbers. So a whole number is a number that contains no fractional or decimal parts. So for example, if we had 4.3, this is not a whole number because it contains a decimal. If we had 5.5, this is not a whole number because it contains a fraction. So a whole number would be something like 6 or 10. So these are whole numbers because they contain no fractions or decimals. An integer, an integer is a whole number, but it can be positive or negative. So for example, if we had 6, this is a whole number and it's an integer. But if we have, say, -6, this is an integer, okay, because it has a negative. This is not a whole number. You would call this an integer. So whole numbers are numbers that contain no fractional or decimal parts and can only be positive. An integer contains no fractional or decimal parts, but it can be positive or negative. So now let's talk about rounding to nearest whole numbers. So let's say, for example, if we have the number 56. Let's say we want to round this to the nearest 10. So we can see here we have 5 for the tens and we have 6 for the ones. So we want to round this to the nearest 10. So you would draw this on a number line. Okay, so to draw a number line, you just draw a line starting from 0 and we're going to go up in tens. So we're going to go up in tens because we're rounding to the nearest 10. So you go 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60. We want to stop at 60 because we've actually gone over what the number is. Okay, so this was 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60. So if we mark where this number is on this number line, okay, that is the midpoint between 50 and 60, and we know it's going to lay in this interval. So if that's that division there, that's 51, 52, 53, 54, 56, 57, 58, 59. If we mark where it is, it's going to be there. So because it's beyond that midpoint, the nearest 10 would be 60. Okay, so 56 to the nearest 10 would be 60. So let's look at a different example. Let's say if we had 4,653 and we want to round this number to the nearest 100. So you would look at what you have for the hundreds. So in this case, we have 6 for the hundreds. And we want to draw a number line going up in hundreds. So obviously, we're going to have quite a lot of points on the number line, but you don't need to draw all the points. You only need to draw the parts where this number is. So because we're rounded to the nearest 100, we want to draw a number line going up in hundreds. So let's say if we start off from 0 and we go up in hundreds, so plus 100 each time. So we'd have 0, 100, 200, 300, 400, and we keep going until we get to 4,600. So we'd have 4,600 here. And then we go up another 100 to get 4,700. So we had 6 for the 100, so we took the lower 100, and then we took the upper 100. Okay, so this is the midpoint in between those two. So each division, if we divide that into 10 parts, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, this value here would be 4,610, 4,620, and so on. So we want to mark where this number is. So we have 4,653. So there's 4,650, and we go up another 3. So we know it's going to be in this interval. Okay, so it's in that interval there. This was the midpoint. So because it's beyond that midpoint, we take the upper 100, which was 4,700. If the value for the tens there will say 4, we'd mark it here. Okay, and because it's below the midpoint, we take the lower 100. So the rule is, if the number is on the midpoint or beyond the midpoint, you take the upper value. If it's below the midpoint, you take the lower value. So let's do another example where we now go around this number here to the nearest 1,000. So we have 4,653. So 4,653. So now if we round it to the nearest 1,000, we have 4 for the thousands. So we want to draw a number line going up in thousands. So we start from 0 and we want to go up in thousands. So we have 0, 1,000, 3,000, 3,000, 4,000 and 5,000. So we want to stop at 5,000 because we've gone over what the number is. Okay, so this was 1,000, 3,000, 3,000, 4,000 and 5,000. So now each 10 divisions. So if we split it into another 10 divisions, so 2, 3, 4. So each division there is going to be 100. Okay, so before in this number line here, each division was a 10 because we were rounding to the nearest 100. But now we're rounded to the nearest 1,000. Each division now is going to be 100. So if we mark where this number is, so we can see we have 6 for the hundreds. So this is 4,100, 4,200, and so on. So this was the midpoint, and this is 4,600 approximately. So it's a little bit beyond. Okay, so this is 4,653. So because it's beyond that midpoint, the upper 1,000 is going to be 5,000. And that is how you round to the nearest whole number.